The 40th floor of the Sterling building usually feels like a tomb after 7 in the evening, but tonight, the silence has a weight to it that I can't quite shake. It's the kind of quiet that makes every heartbeat sound like a heavy drum against your ribs, a persistent reminder that you are somewhere you shouldn't be. Outside, a relentless autumn rain is lashing against the floor-to-ceiling glass, blurring the city lights into a smear of amber and neon violet that feels like a fever dream. The air in Isabella's office still carries the ghost of her presence, a sharp, intoxicating blend of expensive sandalwood and the faint metallic edge of the rain she brought in with her earlier. She's gone to a late-night gala, leaving me to finish the quarterly reports, but the room feels crowded with the things we haven't said to each other over the last 6 months. My fingers are still hovering over the keyboard, but my eyes are drawn, as if by a magnetic pull, to the center of her mahogany desk. There, lying open and vulnerable under the glow of a single brass lamp, is a leather-bound book I've never seen her carry. Isabella is a woman of steel and spreadsheets. She doesn't do private reflections, or so I thought. But as I step closer, the scent of the leather rises to meet me, and I see the handwriting, elegant, sharp, and unmistakably hers. It's a diary. The one thing in this office I was never meant to touch. My breath catches in my throat, a sharp, ragged sound in the empty room. I know the danger of this. Isabella doesn't just fire people who cross her, she erases them from the industry entirely. Yet, the longing to see behind that icy blue gaze is a fire that has been consuming me since the day I started as her assistant. I tell myself I should close it and walk away, but my hand is already moving. The paper is thick, creamy, and warm under my fingertips, feeling almost like skin. Just one look, I whisper to the shadows, my heart racing so fast it feels like it might burst. Just one look at the woman behind the tailored suits and the titles of absolute power. The silence of the office seems to lean in with me, waiting for the first word to be read, as if the very walls are complicit in my betrayal. I know that once I read those words, the boundary between secretary and CEO will be forever blurred, and the safety of my professional life will be replaced by a terrifying, beautiful uncertainty. I can feel the adrenaline spiking, a cold shiver running down my spine as I prepare to cross the threshold into her most private thoughts. Every page I turn feels like a step deeper into a labyrinth I wasn't invited to explore. Before I can even focus on the words, memories of the last few months start to flood back, recontextualized by the mere existence of this book. I think about the way Isabella's coldness has always felt like a shield rather than a personality trait. I remember the stolen glances in the elevator, where the air would suddenly become too thin to breathe, and the way her hand would linger just a second too long when I handed her a morning coffee. There was always this professional frost between us, a barrier she built with such precision that I started to believe I was imagining the heat beneath it. I recall the late nights we spent working on the merger, the only 2 people left in the building, where the only sound was the scratching of pens and the thrum of the air conditioning. Sometimes she would look up and catch me watching her, and for a heartbeat, the CEO mask would slip, revealing a profound, aching loneliness that mirrored my own. But then she would snap a sharp order about the margins or the font, and the wall would be back up, higher and thicker than before. She treated me like a tool, a high-functioning extension of her own will, yet she never let anyone else get as close to her as I was. I've lived in the subtext of our interactions for so long that I've become an expert at reading the things she leaves unsaid, the way her jaw tightens when a client flirts with me, or the subtle softening of her voice when she calls me into her office just to tell me I did a good job. It's a power dynamic that should have kept me in my place, yet it only served to pull me further into her orbit, making me crave the very thing that intimidated me. Now, staring at her private thoughts, I realize I've been starving for a crumb of the truth she hides from the world. Is the woman who commands boardrooms the same woman who pours her soul into these pages at night? And more importantly, does she know that I've spent every waking moment trying to find a way to break through the ice? The words on the page are blurred at first by my own trembling, but as I settle into her script, I feel a strange sense of intimacy, as if I am finally hearing her voice without the filtered authority she uses to keep the world at a distance. I am looking into the mirror of her soul, and the reflection is more complicated and more beautiful than I ever dared to imagine. It makes me wonder if our entire professional relationship has been a carefully choreographed dance, a way to stay close without ever having to admit the gravity of what is pulling us together. If you are feeling the tension between them as much as I am, please leave a like and subscribe to Meeting Her. And tell me in the comments, which city are you watching this story from today? I'd love to know where our romance is traveling to. My eyes finally settle on an entry dated only 3 days ago. The ink looks fresher here, the strokes of the pen more hurried, more desperate, as if she were trying to outrun her own heart. My heart hammers against my chest as I read the words. She looks at me as if she can see the cracks. I have to be colder. I have to push her away before I lose the ability to let her go. My name is there, Elena, written in a script that looks almost like a caress on the page. I feel a wave of vertigo wash over me, the floor seemingly tilting beneath my feet. She sees me. She isn't just aware of my presence, she's struggling against it with the same intensity that I am. The realization is a physical blow, leaving me breathless in the dim light of the office. I'm so focused on the words, so utterly lost in the revelation of her vulnerability, that I don't hear the heavy thud of the elevator doors opening down the hall. I don't hear the familiar rhythmic click of stiletto heels on the marble floor approaching with predatory grace. It's only when the scent of sandalwood intensifies, becoming an overwhelming, suffocating cloud, that I realize I'm not alone. Elena. The voice is like velvet and ice, cutting through the silence of the room like a blade. I freeze, the diary still clutched in my trembling hands, a smoking gun of my curiosity. Isabella is standing in the doorway, her black evening gown shimmering like oil on water, her hair slightly damp from the rain, looking like a goddess of both beauty and retribution. Her eyes move from my face down to the book, and I see the moment the realization hits her, the sudden flash of hurt, then the wall of white-hot fury. The atmosphere in the room changes instantly, the air becomes electric, charged with a tension that makes my skin tingle. She strides across the room, her movements graceful yet dangerous, until she is inches away from me. I can feel the heat radiating from her body, a stark contrast to the cold rain clinging to her skin. She doesn't reach for the book. Instead, she pins me against the edge of the mahogany desk, her hands landing on either side of my waist, trapping me in the small space between her and the secrets I just unearthed. "You weren't supposed to find that," she whispers, her face so close that I can see the amber flecks in her pupils and the slight tremble in her lower lip. The professional protocol didn't just break, it shattered into 1,000 jagged pieces, leaving us both exposed in the ruins of our own carefully built lives. The tension between us is so thick it feels like it could be touched, a living thing that has finally been let out of its cage after a lifetime of confinement. For a long, agonizing moment, neither of us moves, the only sound being the rain and our synchronized, ragged breathing. I can see the conflict raging behind her eyes, the CEO wanting to destroy me for my transgression, and the woman wanting to pull me into the abyss with her. Her hands shift on the desk, her knuckles turning white as she grips the wood, and I realize she's trying to decide whether to push me away or pull me closer into a world where we aren't employer and employee. The diary lies forgotten between us, a silent witness to the truth that can no longer be ignored, no matter how hard she tries to rebuild her walls. I should be terrified. I should be apologizing, begging for my job, but all I can feel is the overwhelming urge to reach out and touch the damp skin of her shoulder, to bridge the final inch of distance between us. I've spent months wondering what it would be like to finally see her without the armor, and now that I have, I realize I can never go back to the way things were. The power has shifted, not because I have her secrets, but because she knows I have her heart. She leans in a fraction of an inch closer, her forehead almost touching mine, and for a second, I think she might actually do it. I think she might finally cross the line she's been guarding so fiercely with her silence. But then she closes her eyes, a single sharp exhale escaping her lips, and she pulls back just far enough to look me in the eye with a gaze that is both a threat and a promise of something far more dangerous than unemployment. "Go home, Elena," she says, her voice low and dangerously soft, vibrating through my very soul. "Go home before I do something we both know I'll regret in the morning." She turns away, but she doesn't take the diary with her. She leaves it there open, right where I found it, as if she wants me to keep reading, to keep knowing her. As I walk to the elevator, my legs shaking with every step, I know that tomorrow nothing will be the same. The game has changed, and the next time we meet, there will be no desk between us to keep the fire from spreading. The elevator doors close, but the scent of her sandalwood remains, a haunting reminder that I am now a part of her secret world. This was only the beginning. If you missed the other stories on the channel, click on the video appearing on your screen right now. And get ready, because the next meeting will be even more intense. See you soon.